Okay. Oh, okay, everybody. So we can't talk about the test because we still have a couple people who need to take it. And we'll get to that a little bit later, okay? How many of you guys have been able to view the videos for this week? Please turn on your camera. Okay, so nobody's viewed the videos for this week? Okay, so make sure that you do those ahead of time. That will help you with retaining the information, okay? So let's get started here. I'm just having a hard time with this worksheet here. There we go. Now it's doing what I want it to do. All right, so we're going to start with our premolars. And what do you guys already know about premolars?
That the maxillary first premolar is bifurcated.
Very good, very good. Yep. What else do we know?
There's 8 of them, and then there's 2 in each quadrant.
Okay, very good. And of those 2, we have a first and a second, right? That's what they're called. Does anybody know the numbers to these teeth?
So the first premolar on the right side is number 5, and then the second is 4.
Very good.
The upper left is 12 and 13.
Very good.
And then the lower left is 21 and 20, and then the lower right is 29 and 28.
Excellent. Very good. Okay. Let's see here. I'm just trying to message somebody here. Did you get that message, Jessica? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Very good. So we know that about the numbers of our premolars. Anything else that we know about our premolars?
They're only
Sorry, go ahead.
they're only present in the permanent dentition, not in the deciduous.
Very good. Very good. What else do we know? How about orthodontics? What do we know about orthodontics and premolars?
That if your mouth is too crowded, they generally will pull a first or one of the premolars.
Usually the first premolar. You were right, Danielle, in saying that. Okay, what about when they develop? When can we expect them to develop?
$10 or $11?
Yeah, in that age up to 13, depending on which one it is. So they are succedaneous teeth, and they replace what in the primary dentition?
Molars.
What's that?
They replace deciduous molars.
Very good, Kenza. Very good. And then how many lobes is the lingual cusp formed from?
What was the question?
How many cusp is the lingual, or excuse me, how many lobes is the lingual cusp developed from?
1.
Okay, for which ones? It's a little tricky question. There is an exception. Does anybody know what the exception is?
The 3 cusp form.
Yes, so there's a 3 cusp, and when there's a 3 cusp form, it is how many on the lingual then?
2.
2.
2. Very good. So which tooth can have the 3-cusp form?
Mandibular second premolar.
The mandibular second premolar. We can have the H, the U, and the Y occlusal form, right? And if it's a Y, that bottom part of the Y splits the lingual into 2 different cusps. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? All right. So they all have a transverse ridge that crosses the occlusal developmental groove, except one. Does anybody know what that exception is? Look at the anatomy of the occlusal plane of each of those teeth.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, so all of them have a transverse ridge that crosses a developmental groove, except one. The occlusal developmental groove, so like that central groove, except one. Which one is the exception?
Is it mandibular first premolar?
Very good, the mandibular first. Everybody write that down. Okay. Now, when we talk about, just taking a screenshot of who actually came back here. When we're talking about size on the maxillary, which one is bigger, the first or the second?
The second.
Sorry, I couldn't
The
hear the
maxillary.
question.
First.
It is the first, okay? And then on the mandibular, it's the second that's bigger. And the mandibular is the one that has all the variety. That second premolar is the one that has so much variety to it, right? That's the U, the H, and the Y. So when we look at that mandibular second premolar, how many lobes do you think that one develops from total? I meant to ask this earlier. If it has the Y pattern. So we know that they're like anterior teeth and that they develop from, premolars generally develop from 4 lobes, right? 3 on the buccal, 1 on the lingual. But when there's a when there's a Y pattern, how many are there? Taylor, I know you caught me saying it.
Is it 5?
Very good. She's smart. She's like, I know the answer to this one. So it is 5. So just know that there's a variety. So the second premolar does not always develop from 5. Often it's 4, right? It's only if it has that Y pattern that it develops from 5. Okay? Let's see here. Just going through my lesson plan here. All right. So since we don't have a lot of the class here, I'm just going to share my screen and we'll work through the worksheet together. If it'll pop up for me. Okay. All right. So let's get this a little bit bigger. Can you all see that? Yeah? Okay. Let's go view. Make it a little bit bigger. All right. So, what makes molars prone to decay?
Deep pits and fissures.
Okay, so they have a lot of deep pits and fissures, right? Now let's compare and contrast them. So I'm going to have Stephanie, I'm going to have you do calcification, eruption, root completion, basically everything but identifying characteristics for the maxillary first. Lindsay, I'm going to have you do identifying characteristics of the first. Chelsea, I'm going to have you do the second, all up to identifying characteristics. And Sarah, I'm going to have you do identifying characteristics. So what sets it apart? For the mandibular, Samantha, I'm going to have you do the top part, and then identifying characteristics would be Gao. And then the mandibular second, Brittany, I'm going to have you do the top, and Danielle, I'm going to have you do the bottom of the identifying characteristics. Okay. And then we're going to be doing the same for the mandibular molars. So Jessica, I'm going to give you the mandibular first molar, excuse me, the maxillary first molar. And you're going to do the top part. So calcification, eruption, root completion. Oh, I got a chat here. Let me see here. Yes, I do see your screen now. So we'll do that after class, okay? All right.
Good.
Let's see here. Yay, we got it figured out. Okay. Let me get my screens back up. Okay, so Jessica, maxillary first molar, you're going to do the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then Taylor, you're going to do identifying characteristics of the maxillary first molar. Kinza, the maxillary second, you're going to do the top 5 or 6. And Ashley, you'll do identifying characteristics of the maxillary second molar. Kate, you'll do the maxillary third molar, the top 5. And Cynthia, you're going to do identifying characteristics of the maxillary third molar. Maddie, you'll do the top part of the mandibular first molar. Heidi, you're going to do identifying characteristics of the mandibular first molar. Summer, you'll do the top 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the mandibular second molar. Esther, you're going to do identifying characteristics of the mandibular second molar. By the way, this is my favorite tooth. And then Nicole, you're going to do the top 6 of the third molar. And Neil, you'll do identifying characteristics of the mandibular third molar. Zoe and Ashley, I'm going to have you two work on the differences between maxillary and mandibular teeth, or excuse me, primary and deciduous teeth. Okay? Primary and permanent teeth. Geez, that was hard. So chapter 16. What makes them different from permanent teeth? What makes the deciduous teeth different? All right, I'll give you each about 10 minutes here, okay?
I have a question. Am
Yes.
I doing mandibular third molars, the top part? Is that what you
Yes.
said? Okay.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
And Miss Enninger, I'm doing the maxillary second molar, right?
Yes.
And all 6?
Yes.
Are we supposed to be typing on your sheet?
Nope. Just write them
No.
down. I'll fill it in.
Okay, thank you.
And then I'll share the link with you guys, okay? How are we doing, you guys? Anybody need more time? We're good? Okay. Let's start with the maxillary first, maxillary first premolar. Let's go. Okay. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Calcification is 1.5 years.
Okay.
Eruption is 10 to 11 years.
Okay.
Root completion is 12 to 13 years. 2 pulp horns. 2 roots. 4 lobes.
Okay. Lindsay, what did we get for identifying characteristics?
All right, so the lingual cusp is shorter than the facial cusp.
Okay.
There is a deep developmental depression on the mesial surface.
That's really important for us to know because I saw a lot of pockets there from hygienists not turning their instrument into that area. So you'll hear me talk about that a lot in clinic. All right, anything else?
Let's see. The buccal and the lingual cusp tips are centered over the root.
Okay. Okay.
And then the facial and lingual outline are both convex.
Meaning it goes out. Okay, and then this often has 2 roots, right? And it's 1 buccal and 1 lingual. All right, let's move on to our second premolar. Chelsea.
Okay, so for the second maxillary premolar, the calcification is at 2 years. The eruption is 6 to 7 years. Root completion, 12 to 14 years. The number of pulp horns is 2. Number of roots, 1. And number of developmental lobes is 4.
Okay. Sarah, tell us about some of the identifying characteristics.
So does it look similar to the maxillary first premolar?
Looks very similar. Mm-hmm.
Except it has less of an angle appearance, but more of a rounded appearance on the crown. It also has 2 cusps on the top that are very similar in size.
Okay, hold on. 2 cusps. So that's what makes it very different, is that the cusps are equal in size. Or in height. Equal in height and size. Okay.
All right, and then it normally has 1 root. It could have 2, and the root is longer than the first premolar's root.
Okay, and I'm not even going to put that on there because that is extremely rare. So we aren't going to focus on that, okay? All right, very good, you guys. You're getting exactly what I want you to get here. All right, so let's go, whoops, to the mandibular first premolar.
All right, so I had that one. Calcification was 2 years. Eruption at 10 to 12 years. Root completion 12 to 13 years. 2 pulp horns, 1 root, 4 developmental lobes.
Okay. Gao, what are some identifying characteristics of this?
They are nearly the same buccolingual width as mandibular canine. They have a sharp buccal cusp.
Oh, hold on, just a width
Sorry.
as mandibular canine. Okay.
They have a sharp buccal cusp, a well-developed middle buccal lobe.
Okay.
Their lingual cusp is small.
Very small lingual cusp is afunctional. Okay.
The crown and root of a mandibular first premolar taper lingually.
Okay.
And they're more convex than maxillary premolar at cervical and middle thirds.
Yeah. Middle and cervical thirds, then maxillary. Okay. All right, very good, you guys. All right, let's keep going.
Okay, so the calcification is 2.5 years. The eruption's 11 to 12 years. The root completion is 13 to 14 years. And then I was kind of confused on this part, but the pulp horns, I think it's 2 to 3.
Yep. Why would that be? How many cusp tips do we have?
It can be 2 or 3.
2 or 3. Yep, yeah. Very good. So it has 2 or 3 cusps developed from 4 to 5 lobes.
Right.
Okay.
And then the roots is 1 to 2.
It's usually 1, so I'm just going to put 1. I don't like that they even mentioned 2 because that's an anomaly.
And then the lobes 4 to 5.
Okay. So 4 for the H and U shape. Occlusal. 5 for the Y. Occlusal. Y shaped. You guys let me know if you want me to type in any other words because this is going to help you with be a little bit of a study guide for you, okay? All right. Identifying characteristics. Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Bless you.
Thank you.
It has a longer root than the mandibular first premolar. There's a higher mesial and distal marginal ridges. The buccal cup is the largest. The lingual surface of root and crown are slightly convex.
Can you say that again?
Lingual surface of root and crown are slightly convex.
You guys can all see how slow I type. I'm not a court reporter, okay? Go ahead.
That was the general gist of what I got.
And this can have, or this can be one of 3 types of occlusal shapes. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Very, very good, you guys. Definitely getting what you need here. All right, calcification, first molar. Jessica.
Calcification is at birth.
Okay.
Eruption is 6 to 7 years. Root completed at 9 to 10 years.
Go ahead.
5 pulp horns. 3 roots and 5 developmental lobes.
Okay. 5 pulp horns?
Oh, that's what I thought it said. I thought it said 1 per cusp. Oh, maybe it's 4.
Yep, so cusp versus developmental lobes. So how many cusp? Oh yeah, we do have 5 cusps here. Sorry, I'm still on premolars. Okay, sorry. Identifying characteristics, Taylor.
There's 5 cusps, one of which is the cusp of Carabelli, which is the mesiolingual. The occlusal outline is almost like a square. The distolingual cusp is well developed compared to other molars. The roots are widely separated.
Axillary molars. Roots are widely separated. Okay.
And then it's nearly as wide mesiodistally and buccolingually.
Okay.
That was basically it.
All right, very good. So one thing you need to know is that these roots are going to get closer together as we move more distal, okay? It's almost square. And the distal lingual cusp is going to be our smallest cusp. And one thing about all of these is that they all have an oblique ridge, okay? And you'll see that in the video. Okay, go ahead with the maxillary second molar.
So the calcification is 2.5 to 3 years. Eruption is 12 to 13 years. The root completion is 14 to 16 years. I think the pulp horns are 2, but I'm not sure about this one.
Okay, it should be 3.
Okay. And the number of roots are 3 to 4.
We're gonna say 3.
And 4 lobes.
Okay. And this is a little different than anterior teeth, 2 and 2, 2 on the buccal, 2 on the lingual, okay? Identifying characteristics.
Crowns are shorter and narrower than the first molars.
Okay. What did you say the crown is?
Crowns are shorter and narrower than the first maxillary molars.
Shorter and narrow. Okay.
Roots are closer together, they may be fused.
I'm not going to put that they're fused because it's pretty rare that the second molars will be fused. It can happen, but that's more on the third molars. Okay.
And then more grooves and pits.
So more supplemental grooves and pits. Okay.
And then no fifth lobe.
No fifth lobe. Very good. All right. I think we got everything there. I'm just going to highlight this for you because I want you to remember this. Okay. Maxillary third molar.
That was me, right?
Yep.
Okay. So for calcification, I have 7 years.
Okay.
Eruption is 17 to 22 years. Root completion is 18 to 25.
Okay.
And then number of pulp horns, I have 1 to 4.
Yep. Okay.
And then number of roots, 1 to 4. And then development lobe, 4.
Okay, identifying characteristics.
That was me, right?
Yep.
The crown is shorter than the second molar. The roots tend to be fused. The occlusal surface looks more like a heart shape. And then the distal lingual cusp is poorly developed.
Okay, and that's what gives it its heart shape. Very good. Okay, mandibular first molar.
The calcification is at birth. And then eruption is 6 years old. And root completion is 9 to 10 years. Pulp horns is 5. Number of roots is 2.
Okay.
And then developmental lobes is 5.
Excellent. Identifying characteristics.
It has the 2 roots that are mesial and distal. There's 4 major cusps, but if the 5th cusp is present, it's a minor cusp. And then there's 2 buccal cusps that are similar in size. Oh, sorry.
Present, it is a minor cusp. And then what were you doing next?
The 2 buccal cusps that are similar in size. And then the 2 lingual cusps are also similar in size. The crown is broader mesiodistally than buccolingually.
Okay. And then broader mesiodistally. Hold on just a second. Okay, fine. Find something else. Close the door. Close the door. Sorry about that, you guys. Okay.
And then the mesiobuccal cusp is the widest, and the distal buccal cusp is the smallest.
Which would make sense, right? If the mesial buccal is going to be bigger. And then where is that 5th cusp then?
It's on the lingual side.
It's actually on the, you can see it from the buccal, and it is called the distal cusp. Okay? All right. Very good. Mandibular second molar, my favorite tooth. Who's got this? Summer.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
So for the classification, it's 2 to 3 years. Eruption is 12 to 14 years. Root completion is 14 to 16 years. Number of pulp horns, I found 4.
Very good.
And then roots 2 and
Okay.
lobes 4.
All right, very good. Why do I love this tooth so much, Esther?
No.
Pressure's on, it's my favorite.
The mandibular second molar, it looks very similar to the first one when it comes to buccal and lingual.
Okay.
It's a lot, so I don't know if you want to write this whole thing that I found.
The thing I like most about it, the most identifying characteristic, is that
there are four cusps that are equal in size.
I love symmetry.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing. Go ahead and tell me a little bit about the roots.
They have 2 roots.
Mm-hmm.
And the roots of the second molar, they're shorter, closer together, and more distally inclined than those on the first molar. And if you look at it occlusally, on the occlusal view, it has more of a rectangular shape compared to the first molar.
Okay.
It has 4 perfectly triangular grooves.
4 what?
It says it has 4 triangular grooves that include
Grooves, yes.
Grooves. It includes distal facial, distal lingual, mesiofacial, and mesiolingual.
Yeah, so we won't get into that too deep right now, okay?
Okay.
I mean, we know that there would be 4 grooves, right? Because we have to go this way and this way, right, to create a T. So this would be 1, this would be 1, this would be 1, and this would be 1, okay? All right. Okay, let's go to our mandibular third molar.
Okay, so calcification, 8 to 10 years. Eruption, 17 to 21 years. Root completion, 18 to 24 years. Number of pulp horns, 4 or 5. And then for number of roots, I got 2 fused into 1. And then number of lobes, 4 or 5.
Very good. Okay, identifying characteristics. Neil.
Yeah, so from an occlusal view, it has more of a oval shape than a rectangular.
Okay.
The combined measurements of the buccal cusps are greater than that of the lingual cusps. And then the 2 mesial cusps are larger than the 2 distal cusps.
I think I'm going to add to this is often prone to macrodontia.
I mean, they're just really irregular and unpredictable, right?
Yes. And where the maxillary is more prone to microdontia. That won't be on a test, but that's
something. I couldn't find a lot of comparative stuff from the mandibular to the maxillary, so that's good to know.
Yeah. So not anything that you need to know for the test, but it's just something that you kind of need to know when you look at x-rays. Don't be surprised if you find that to be pretty common. All right, what are some of our primary and permanent dentition differences, Zoe?
Some things that I found. The pulpal horns of the deciduous teeth extend rather high occlusally. Placing them.
What does that? Why does that? Like, why is that important, you guys? Why do you think having high pulp horns is important to know on deciduous teeth? Think if they get decay, if that pulp horn is really high, it doesn't take long for that decay to get to the nerve, okay? So that's really important for us to know because they're gonna get an abscess or have a really bad toothache quickly. So that's why taking care of these deciduous teeth is so important. You know, keeping them healthy, teaching the kid good oral hygiene habits, because they do go up a lot higher. The dentin is a lot, well, I'm gonna let Zoe keep going because I'm sure that that's part of it. Sorry, Zoe.
I was gonna say that.
Okay, the dentin is thinner. What about the enamel?
Enamel is much thinner than in permanent teeth as well.
So everything just gets a little thinner. So if we have really thin dentin, what color do you guys think the teeth would be?
Yellow.
Dentin actually gives it its yellow appearance, so they're actually going to be whiter. Okay? Oh, called my key now. Whiter than the permanent teeth. Ashley, do you have anything to add?
There is 20 primary and 32 permanent.
20 primary, 32 permanent.
The crowns are
Missing-
shorter.
Okay, oh yeah, good one. Crowns are shorter. Okay.
And then I think the pulp chambers are larger too.
Yes. Yep. Pulp chambers are larger. Okay.
I also found that the deciduous molars are wider mesiodistally than the permanent premolars that take their place.
Can't spell. Deciduous molars are wider. Mesiodistally, you said?
Yep.
Okay. What about the maxillary first premolar? Did you guys find anything on that? The rest of you guys can look too. It's unlike any other tooth, whether it be primary or permanent, okay? There's no other tooth that looks like the primary maxillary first molar. Now, if we look at the primary second molars, what do they look like? These look like the permanent first molars. So basically the rules that apply to the permanent first molars apply to the permanent or the primary second molars. Okay, so you can expect to see a cusp of carabelli on the primary maxillary primary second molar. You can expect that the largest cusp on the maxillary second molar is going to be the mesiolingual cusp, just like it is on the permanent first molar. Okay. The one thing with the primary dentition is that the molars are getting bigger the further distal you go. On the permanent, they get smaller the more distal you go. But on the primary, they're getting bigger. And that's to allow more space. Okay. Let me see here.
On the first primary molar, or of the deciduous dentition, the mesiolingual cusp is the longest and sharpest cusp, and the distolingual is small and rounded if present at all.
Okay, can you say that again? Sorry.
Yeah.
Primary first,
Yep.
Primary maxillary first molar.
Mm-hmm. Mesiolingual cusp is longest and sharpest. Distolingual cusp, small and rounded, and it might not even be present.
It looks so different from all the other teeth. It doesn't look like a premolar. It doesn't look like a mole. I mean, it has a occlusal outline that's, I guess, molar-ish, but it doesn't look like any other tooth. So it's kind of a interesting little tooth. Okay. All right, you guys, very good. I'm gonna just do some highlights here. And why don't you guys just take a 15-minute break? When we come back, we're gonna just kind of briefly go through the PowerPoints, okay? All right. Okay, everybody, if you want to start coming back, that'd be great. Okay, so I have some large teeth here. And these are my two maxillary teeth. So I just want to go over some of the characteristics of these just because they are, I feel like they're kind of nice little learning tools. So which one do you guys think this one is?
First maxillary premolar.
Very good. And why is that?
Because it's bifurcated.
Because it's bifurcated. Do you see how it's in that apical third? Okay. And then this is the maxillary second. Okay. Get that there for you. And you can see how they are very similar. But this one's a little bit bigger, the maxillary first. And this one versus this one, stand them both up. Which one has more equal cusp, A or B?
B?
Oh, B, this one?
No, the other one.
This one, okay, sorry, I couldn't remember. That's correct. So this is our maxillary second. So it's slight, but we have to remember that these tilt lingually a little bit. And then these are a little more equal. It also has more supplemental anatomy in it, if you can see all that versus this. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to grab a mandibular. And I apologize, I have colored on this one. Oh, here, I got another one. So you can see how the mandibular looks quite a bit different, right? The maxillary was pretty straightforward. So one thing I always notice about the mandibular first is I always call it ET because I feel like it looks like ET. Okay, you see how it has the two eyes there? Okay, so that's the mandibular first. And do you see how this cusp is really small? You can see how that would be afunctional if we have this tooth coming over it and chewing. Okay, so we're going to use mainly the maxillary. Now our other mandibular is right here, and you can see that this one doesn't look anything like the maxillary either, right? Oops, yeah. Okay, this is our maxillary. So which occlusal shape do you guys think this is? Let me just kind of give you a 3D view.
An H.
So let me give you right there. That look right there should give you a hint. How many cusps do you guys see?
A Y shape?
It looks like
That's a Y shape. Do you see how there's 3 cusps? 1, 2, 3. You can kind of see it there. 1, 2, 3. Does everybody see that? So how many lobes would form this tooth?
3 lobes.
3 lobes, and how many developmental? 3 cusps is what you're thinking. There you go, Danielle, 5. So we would have 3 on the buckle and then 4 and 5. Okay?
Can you point that out?
So we'd have 3 on the facial. We'd have 1, 2, 3. Then we'd have 4, 5. So anytime that you have a 3 cusp second premolar, it's going to develop from 5 lobes, because we know that facial is developing from 3 lobes, just like the anterior teeth. And then we have 2 cusps here, so we know that we have 2 lobes here. Where if I have this mandibular little ET guy, we're going to have 1 lobe, 2 lobes, 3 lobes, and 4, because we only have 1 cusp tip here. Okay, bone box, again, I want to highly encourage you guys to use bone block because I can't, you guys can't feel these. This wasn't, that's the nice thing about being online, is that we can feel these and look at these. So using bone box, that has helped a lot of students in the past, okay? All right. Let's go back to our worksheet. Actually, I went through the PowerPoints online, so I'd rather go through kind of some highlights here on this worksheet, okay? Are you guys good with that? So I added a few things to it that I want to make sure you guys understand.
Are you going to post that worksheet for us?
I'll post a link in this discussion, yes. Since you guys helped me do it, it wouldn't be fair, right? If I didn't. It's not letting me. Google Doc. Over here. And I want to cancel. Let me see if that'll do it. Okay. All right. So a few things that I wanted to point out to you guys is the Y shape, again, is 5 developmental lobes for the Y shape. But there was a few more. Okay, so the mesial root of the mandibular first molar often has 2 root canals. So although it only has 2 roots, a mesial root and a distal root, it's still going to have 3 canals. Okay? So let's look at, no, that's not it. That's a premolar. All right, well, we will, you guys will have to look that up in your book. I'll hopefully have a chance to show that to you. All right, a few other things. Now, all of this is important. I'm just highlighting a few things. Make sure you study all of this, okay? All right, can you guys tell me what some of this anatomy is? What is A? That's this right here.
A is the distal cusp.
Distal cusp tip, very good. That would be the buccal, distal buccal cusp, very good. All right, what would D be then?
That's the mesial buccal.
Mm-hmm. What's C?
Keep working. Well, success.
What would C be?
Buccal pit.
The buccal pit. And then what would this What would B be?
The mesiobuccal developmental groove.
Okay, often referred to just as the buccal developmental groove. This looks like it is probably a second molar, mandibular second molar. Why is this anatomy here so important to know, this B and C?
Because we might need to put sealants on it.
Very good, very good. Because this groove in this pit can have bacteria stuck in it and cause decay. All right? Now, what premolar is this?
Maxillary first.
Maxillary first. We know that because of what? Heidi.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Bifurcation.
Because of the bifurcation. Okay, this is the one premolar that is, it's more common than not for it to be bifurcated, meaning two roots. Would this be a mesial, distal, buccal, or lingual root, Chelsea?
Sorry, say it again. Mesial, distal, buccal,
or lingual.
Or lingual. I think lingual.
So this is the buccal. Okay. And that's a nice guess, but how do I know that this is the buccal, Lindsay? This root right here. How do I know that this is the buccal root?
Is it because of the cusp is longer?
Oh, Lindsay, go ahead, Lindsay.
Yeah, I was going to say because the root is longer.
Because the root is longer, and also Chelsea said the cusp is longer. Very good, Chelsea. Okay, so we first know that the buccal cusp, that we have two roots, and on this tooth we have one buccal and one lingual. Okay. Now, some teeth on mandibular molars, we have a mesial and a distal root. All right, so we have to know our orientation. So are we looking at this from a proximal view or a buccal or lingual view?
Proximal.
This is a proximal view. Okay, and what surface do you think we're looking at it? If this is the buccal, think of turning that into your mouth. What tooth would that be? What number?
Distal view? Oh, sorry. Number? Is it 5?
Okay, anybody else agree or disagree? This is our buccal surface. This is our lingual surface.
12.
Is it 12?
Okay, anybody agree or disagree?
Turning like that.
So this is the same tooth here. Right here. So what view do we have?
I feel like it's 5.
Need to hear from more people.
12. I think that it's 12.
Okay. This is actually number 5. Okay. But the biggest thing is that you guys got that it's a first premolar. Okay. What view is this? Would this be the mesial, distal, buccal, or lingual?
Buckle.
That's a buccal view. So did we determine which view this is? If we know that this is tooth number 5, what view would this be?
Distal.
That would be the distal view. Okay, very good. So this is tooth number 5, and then B is the distal view. Okay, very good, you guys. All right. Now, let's keep moving here. All right, let's go to, we're going to talk a little bit about anterior teeth. I just want to make a couple things clear before we go. What does the lingual ridge do to the fossa? If there's a lingual ridge present, what is it going to do?
Is it about the anterior teeth, that if there's a lingual ridge on the anterior teeth?
Yep.
Wouldn't it dissect the fossa? Like,
yes, it splits the fossa into 2. Very good. Okay. And last thing that I want to make sure you guys understand is, does bicuspid mean the same thing as premolar?
No.
No, thank you, Gao. I love how quick that answer was. Why not, Gao?
Because not all premolars have just 2 cusps. They can have from 1 to 3 cusps.
Okay. And so, cups. Which one is the exception usually?
Mandibular first.
Mandibular second.
Mandibular second.
I have a question. How often is the mandibular second 3 cusps? Like,
fairly common.
Is it more often that it's 3 cusps?
Oh, I wouldn't say more often. Honestly, I personally have seen all 3 probably about equally.
Okay.
Yep. I would say U, Y, H would be kind of, if I had to put them in order of what I've seen. Okay. So normally you're going to have 2 cusps.